Many of you know that I went on vacation to Cuba for 2 whole weeks. That went by so fast. Bucket list item checked off. So grateful to the Cuban people and to everybody who helped facilitate the trip. It was quite a time to be in Cuba, but in particular, I was at the Bay of Pigs, Playa Giron, the night that Putin invaded Ukraine. And I like to do this when I go to countries I've never been to. I like to bring some sort of history of political history or history of beyond politics, anthropological history of those places. And of course, Cuba is very important. It's important to the left. It's important to geopolitics. It's important in this what we thought was a post-Soviet-ish world. So, of course, I was in Playa Giron and Putin invaded Ukraine. And I was reading about the Bay of Pigs. And I was reading about how Fidel had to maneuver after he won the revolution against Batista. And just for folks to remember, if you don't remember, Batista was backed by a lot of mafiosos. He cut a deal to take back power after he lost power. And that's when he became autocratic. And he had the support of the mafia in New York. He cut a deal with them to open up casinos, to open up hotels, and turn Havana into the Vegas of the South. So that didn't work out great. And Fidel did successfully win the revolution. It was very hard fought. He was way over. Their revolution was outnumbered by far. They had horrifying defeats in the beginning, but he was able to win control. And of course, 60 years later, since the fall of Batista, Cuba has been able to exercise its own independence, keeping both the US, especially in the last few years, at an arm's length, but of course also the Soviet Union and post-Soviet Union Russia. But it's been complicated. It's an extremely complicated history. And I think that is the lesson here, right? We often talk about these geopolitical hotspots in sort of black and white ways. We talk about foreign policy in black and white ways. We talk about the U.S. Foreign policy in black and white ways. We've had different foreign policy strategies since Eisenhower, or we want to go back to FDR, Cold War, early Cold War, all the way to today. Democrats have different foreign policy strategies. Republicans have had different foreign policy strategies. And I think that's kind of how we are in this situation right now on the left, where we're trying to figure out who we are as a country, where we should be as a movement, as Putin has really exercised beyond his power. And we'll talk about this later on the show, whether or not he has committed war crimes. Many believe so. It's a complicated thing to assess, but this is somebody who has not justified this war in a legal way, and that by that alone is an excuse for being in a war crime, not to mention all of the actions he's committed before and after. So on the left, I'm sitting there in Playa Giron, and I don't have access to CNN or the typical news, which could be good, but it's also a little bit bad because I was looking at Twitter, and Twitter is a cesspool of propaganda and bots, misinformation and disinformation from everybody from Russian propaganda to US propaganda to right-wing propaganda to Nazi propaganda. And it gets very confusing very fast. And not to mention, news spreads super, super fast, and it's hard to validate when a war is taking place. And folks, don't have their cell phones charged in real time. They don't have access to Wi-Fi. Sometimes videos come in later. Not to mention, they're in Russia in particular, Putin has cut off access to Western press, to independent press, Russian independent press and media. And if you are caught doing so as a journalist that is not part of Russian state media, you could be sentenced to 12 years in prison. These are dangerous. The West has isolated Putin. The West media has isolated Putin, but he's also isolated himself. And that is my concern today. The global community, the global economic community has come together to put Putin in a very difficult position in which the economy of Russia, just to put this make this point very clear, is the size of Texas. His funds are not going to last long enough, especially with the EU and the US saying they're no longer going to be purchasing oil from Russia. So this isn't going to last very long, and he's going to start looking for different ways to continue his power to win his war. So he's going to go to his autocratic friends and ask for some support. They may or may not give it. If he is shown to be successful, they may be inspired by his actions and do similar things, invade other countries, to develop this sort of brotherhood of autocrats around the globe to push back against Western capitalism. It's not looking good, though. And I mean, who knows? It seems as if Putin is in a corner, that other autocrats around the world just see too much risk, especially since so many of these oligarchs have had their accounts frozen, and in some cases, assets seized, whether it's yachts in Europe or houses around the world that have been used as cash holdings instead of bank accounts. It's not looking good for Putin. And so this is why the no-fly zone is a big conversation topic right now. The US and the Western governments are looking to Zelensky to lead and will support him to lead the revolution. But I think that they are all very cautious about putting any boots on the ground or further aggressing the situation, because Putin has nuclear weapons. And we're not sure if he is a rational actor at this point or an irrational actor. Rational actors, you can predict their behavior. Irrational, you cannot. And if he's up against the wall and he has put all of his energy and his country's resources into invading Ukraine, all for some greater purpose to unify former Soviet states under his autocratic regime, he has put a lot on the line. And if he has no way out, what will he do? And will he take all of us down with him? I think these are the very serious and difficult existential questions that we're facing. And, the last time I think we faced it as society was during Bay of Pigs, was post Bay of Pigs. And I never thought in my life that I would be sitting here thinking about a nuclear threat, but it does warrant a question. And it's definitely humbled me quite a bit in terms of foreign policy commentary and hot takes, because stakes are too high right now. And I believe in democracy. I think many of us believe in democracy. I don't believe in U.S. imperialism as a path to democracy, but I do believe in democracy. So I do believe that the Ukrainian people are going to do all that they can and are looking for the support to succeed so that they can protect their democracy. And of course, countries in Europe right now are feeling it much more intensely, because it is right there. They're right there. Finland is across the water. Folks in Europe, whether it's Poland or Germany or the Baltics, the Baltic region is a geopolitical hotspot right now. Turkey is now flying planes over Greece, exercising, seeing this as an opportunity because folks are distracted by Ukraine. These are serious times, and you can become a member if you join us at patreon.com/The Nomiki Show. It goes a long way. We are independent media, as you know, so we don't have all the big bucks coming in. We have to do this on our own time, our own way. We're a tight team. Try to get incredible guests, experts on, and have deeper conversations about complicated issues that you can't just hashtag. That's what you get with us.